Okay, Chair, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome everybody to East Devon District Council's virtual arts and culture meeting on the 8th of November 2023. I'm your chair, Councillor Joe Wibley, and I'd also like to welcome anyone watching the meeting via the live streaming. The meeting can be viewed live online and will be recorded, so please bear this in mind throughout the meeting. And may I remind colleagues to be careful with their language and that the code of conduct applies throughout our meeting. And we reserve the right to remove and disconnect any participant disrupting the meeting by whatever means, though one would hope that's not going to be an issue. Please turn any telephone devices off or to silent. As this Arts and Culture Forum meeting is dependent on an internet connection and a power supply, in the event of a break in the internet connection or a power cut, please bear with us as we try to reconnect. After 15 minutes, if we're unable to, please consider the meeting adjourned and we will reconvene at a later and you can check that on the committee page on the website. So please could you make sure all microphones are muted when you're not speaking to avoid any background noise levels. Keep points short and do not repeat points that have already been made and do not interrupt. If you wish to comment, please raise your electronic hand and wait to be called. All councillors have been sent the agenda for today's meeting, and any members of the public wishing to view it can do so at www.eastdevon.gov.uk. So we'll now start the meeting by doing a roll call of committee members here present. Can you please now unmute your microphone when you hear your name and confirm that you are here by saying present. When you confirmed you're present, please mute your microphone again. Olivia.
Okay, so Councillor Wibley.
I am here, present.
Okay, Councillor Barlow.
Present.
Okay.
I don't think I'm on the committee though, Lee.
Okay, Councillor Davey. Sorry, Ian, I think you are on it, but as a Sidmouth Town Council representative.
I stand corrected.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Davey. Councillor Dorber. Councillor Fernley.
Present.
Councillor Goody. Councillor Hookway.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Johns.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Mendham. Councillor Olive. Councillor Sneller.
Present.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Wakefield. Okay, Chair, we are quorate.
Excellent.
Hello. I'm Jenny Brown. I thought I was on there as a Honiton Town Councillor.
Oh, quite. Let me double check that.
I seem to remember that. Reading that somewhere.
Okay.
Present.
I'll check. Thank you.
And just one more, Councillor Singh. I wasn't going to be able to attend, but I am present now.
Lovely. Thank you.
So we are quorate then.
Yes, yeah, we are.
I was worried for a moment there.
Yeah.
Okay. So agenda item 1 is the appointment of the Vice Chair of the Arts and Culture Forum. So I would like to invite nominations from the Forum for the position of Vice Chair. I'm afraid it doesn't come with a huge salary or much responsibility at all, but it would be great to have a Vice Chair in order that we can carry on if I'm unable to or can't ever do the meeting. So could you raise your hand if you have any nominations for Vice Chair? Otherwise, I have to go into teacher mode and pick on people. Help.
Chair, I'm happy to be.
As I say, Joe, I quite often attend these meetings anyway in various capacities, but I do work for an arts charity, so if that's going to be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to do it, but I do work for an art charity as the administrator. So if Nick's happy to do it, I'd be happy to nominate him, but only, as I say, because I think I'd have a conflict of interest. I could have a conflict of interest, and I don't want to cause issues for the council.
No, absolutely not. We wouldn't want that. Okay, so Nick, are you happy to be nominated?
Yes.
Do we have anybody who would be happy to second that? Just unmute and
I'm
say
happy
so.
to second. Happy to second.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so could we use ticks and crosses if we are to confirm, hopefully, the appointment of Vice Chair of Councillor Nick Hookway. Green if you agree, red if you don't. Thank you. I should vote too, shouldn't I?
Could I also ask for my thing to be changed from Strata to Vicky John so everyone knows who I am? I can't do it from my end for some reason.
We'll never not know who you are, Vicky. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and no nos.
Yeah, you got 6.
Jenny's
yes.
saying yes, but she can't find her tick.
Okay. Okay, that's fantastic, Nick. Congratulations.
Of my career. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Right, okay. Good.
So can I have my name up as well, please, so you know who I am?
Brilliant. We can get that done behind the scenes, can't we? Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. So, Nick, if I pass out, it's your job. So we now move to agenda item 2. Apologies, Alicia. We have one.
I've
relevant.
got Councillor Borough from Axminster.
Okay, brilliant.
I've also had apologies for Joe Cairns from the South West Museums and Mayor George from Villages in Action.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Excuse me, can I just say that Councillor Mendon sends her apologies as well. She's just been unavailable. She will respond.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So we now move to agenda item 3, the minutes of the previous meeting. If anyone has any comment on the set of minutes from the 1st of March 23, could you please raise them by raising your electronic hand? If I have no hands raised, I'll take this as an indication that you're all happy that the minutes are accepted. No burning issues from way back when? No. Okay, thank you very much. So the minutes of the previous meeting are accepted. Agenda item 4, declarations of interest. So Alicia.
Okay, so mindful of the new code of conduct, do any members of the forum have any declarations? If so, please state your declaration, including which agenda item your declaration relates to, and state exactly what the interest is and the specific type of interest you're declaring.
I have one for agenda item 10. I am in the process of becoming a trustee of Exmouth Museum. Anybody else at all?
I've got Vicky Johns with her hand up.
Oh yeah, sorry, Vicky.
Hi, yeah. As I stated earlier, I am an art administrator for an art charity within East Devon. And item 13, the Thelma Holbrook Gallery presentation, we are hosting an exhibition there in 2024. As Gemma's nodding away, she keeps asking me to send her stuff. Sorry, Gemma, I will do it. So yeah, so it's a personal interest because it doesn't make any difference to whether I get paid or not with regards to this.
Decisions made here. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
More than happy to accept that. You may stay.
Thank you.
Councillor Barlow, Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I am a director of Sidmouth School of Art, and I believe I have been told that we have applied to ACE for a grant, a small grant.
Okay. Thank you very much. So is that it? Nobody else? Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody.
Joe, Jenny's waving.
Oh, sorry. Jenny's, I can't see.
I know, and I can't find my hand on my tick. Just to say, I'm a Huntington Town Councillor trustee of the Beehive, and I think we're also applying for a grant from the ACED.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Apologize. Maybe you're in as a guest rather than actually. Yeah. Okay. So if people can look out, because I can't see everybody on my screen. So if people see Jenny waving, apologies, Jenny, it's nothing personal.
Can I just check
okay.
there's nobody else, sorry, Joe, in
Oh,
the
yeah,
meeting?
sorry.
So just check there's no other councillors on the forum that want to declare an interest that might affect their ability to remain.
Let's have a look.
I can't see any hands.
No, I can't see anybody. If anybody thinks of something as we go through, or when an agenda item comes up that they realise they probably do have an interest, just let us know then. So thank you, Alicia. So agenda item 5 is public speaking, and we have none. Agenda item 6 are matters of urgency. Again, we have none. And agenda item 7 is confidential and exempt items, and again, there are none. So agenda item 8 is the Arts and Culture Forum Constitution update, because there have been 1 or 2 things that we're talking about changing. And we will shortly receive a report from Charlie Plowden, the Assistant Director of Countryside and Leisure. Do you want to take it from here, Charlie?
Yes, happy to. Thanks,
That's
Chair.
probably useful, because I'll just bimble.
Yeah, no worries. It should be a relatively quick item, I hope. Just for forum members to note, the constitution for the forum hasn't been reviewed since 2013. So essentially, we're just bringing up to date. And that's been, I think, pretty essential since the creation and adoption of the new culture strategy last year, the 2022 to 2031 culture strategy, and also the increased priority of culture within the current council plan. So it's a tidying up exercise. And alongside that, the creation of the ACE network, which has brought together East Devon's community cultural and creative arts groups and individual cultural practitioners since 2021. So we've got a very strong body of our grassroots organisations, which is important to recognise. So in terms of how the constitution set out, in the report on page 12, I've set out in yellow the areas that we want to put in place to the constitution, and in green the one area that we want to remove. So hopefully forum members can see that they've got a colour copy. Apologies if you haven't got sight of it. So the big one really is at the top, which is around the role of the forum in providing the oversight of the culture strategy. There's a lot of activity which you're going to hear about this morning from Sarah, our new cultural producer, where activities and events are moving at quite a considerable pace. And it's important that the forum is able to take a view and understand how we are delivering against the culture strategy and provide that oversight. But also, Sarah, I'm sure we'll talk about future plans for funding bids, etc., which again, the forum needs to understand what that means for the council and what additional support's required from the council in delivering those. So a much more proactive role from the forum, I hope, going forward, Chair, around delivering our culture strategy, which is really, really important to keep it very much as a priority area for the council. And within that, sitting underneath that, we've added in the East Devon tourism strategies. You remember that was adopted roughly the same time as the culture strategy. There's really good synergy between the 2 strategies. And we want to make sure, again, that there's oversight for both of those strategies to ensure there is really good joined up working, and forum members are aware of that, and again can take a view on how to progress certain areas of both strategies. Also, formally recognising the cultural work that the 2 AONB partnerships deliver, the East Devon and Blackdown Hills AONBs. Again, they're very important in the culture strategy and how they're delivering our targets for the natural environment. And then finally, we've added in South West Museums Partnership. We'll hear about the work that they're doing from Vic later on this morning, but they're a very important partner for the District Council in supporting our community museums. It's great to hear, Chair, that you're considering being a trustee for Exmouth Museum. That really is really encouraging. So those are the additions. The one area that we felt that probably needed clarification was around the community reps on the forum. And I've explained in the report, our only remaining community rep has resigned and stood down. We've tried to appoint community reps for the last 2 or 3 years with no success. But perhaps what superseded this is that, as I touched upon, the ACE network, now with, it's not 200 members, Sarah did correct me, so I think it's around about 100, 120 members, has a really strong representation at that community grassroots level, and it does feed into the delivery of the culture strategy. They're very much a key part of our work around culture and our creative arts work. So I feel that's really well represented. So I'm not worried about having that representation at the forum. It's really a reflection that I feel the forum needs to have a much greater say and oversight in the delivery of the culture strategy and reporting that onto Cabinet with key decisions that need to be made that officers are bringing forward. So that is really in a nutshell, Chair, with the Constitution. I'm happy to take any questions. You're on mute, Chair.
Of course, Sam, it wouldn't be a virtual meeting without me doing it at least once, would it? It won't be the last time, I'm sure. Yeah, thanks for that, Charlie. It's really, really important, I think, that we get the message across to fellow councillors, both at district and town level, that this isn't, how can I put this? This isn't perceived to be kind of an add-on to what the council does, and this isn't perceived to be where we talk about how wonderful our arts and culture offering is and go, look at what we've done, look at what we've done, which is great and has a place. This is really, really important because we have a big, big commitment to a culture strategy, and we need to make sure we're getting it right. And it's becoming more of a committee than a forum, isn't it, Charlie? I think that's fair to say. Do we have any questions on that from members? I'm just looking to see if Jenny has. Okay, well done, Charlie. You floored them.
That's fine, thanks, Joe. Just to say, the recommendation, if a forum approves, then obviously that goes on to Cabinet.
Yeah.
Having taken advice from Melanie. So thank you very much, forum, and we look forward to bringing regular updates and reports on how we're performing against our delivery plan for the culture strategy going forward.
Excellent. So if we do have no questions, so we will actually be, as part of moving forward, we do actually have a recommendation that we'll be voting on. So all members will need to do that. Are we all clear? Is everybody clear as to what we're voting on? So there are changes to the Constitution, which changes the role of the committee, of the forum, to have more oversight over the culture strategy and the other thing that Charlie just said, which is
the removal of the representation of community reps. That's now reflected in the ACE network, which is well covered with our grassroots organisations.
Which is the place where people are where you'll celebrate what's what's going on and share ideas and the actual nuts and bolts of it. Councillor Arnott, hello.
Hello, Chair. Sorry not to be in vision, slightly broadband. I was just having a look at the composition of. Oh, by the way, welcome this entirely fantastic. It's sort of it's the inevitable consequence of all my hard work over the last few years. So it's great to see this becoming even more formalised. The membership of the forum shall consist of 1 cabinet member and 2 assistant portfolio holders. So that is the portfolio holder for Coast, Country and Environment, the assistant portfolio holder for Coast, Country and Environment, and the assistant portfolio holder for Democracy and Transparency. Just to say, we're still looking at those assistant portfolio holder roles slightly. So just to flag, this might have to be slightly amended at Cabinet. But if you bear it, the context is that we've been doing this remuneration review for rather a long time. And we're not quite sure what's going on with APHs. So I just thought I'd flag that, Chair. I don't think it's going ahead and sort of, endorsing this, but just to say we might have to have a quick tweak at Cabinet with your forbearance. Thank you.
Absolutely fine. I mean, I think I'm happy for us to go ahead with it as it is, and then when you know more, that's fine. Circumstances change. I don't think it's not going to massively affect the makeup of the group. Okay, yeah. If anybody disagrees with me, please say so. But do we have any further questions, or shall we move to a vote? I can't see any more questions. So we will now put where is the recommendation? So the recommendation is that the Arts and Culture Forum recommends to Cabinet the proposed changes as outlined by Charlie in the constitution of the Arts and Culture Forum. Alicia, do you want to do the vote?
Yep. So if you could vote using your green tick or your red cross.
And Jenny, put your hand up.
Yeah, oh, Jenny's found her tick.
Brilliant.
Okay, Chair. So that's carried. There's nobody voting against.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, sorry. I've got Councillor Davey with his hand up.
No, just to say I'm abstaining because I came in late, so I haven't heard the whole discussion.
Thank you. Okay. And sorry, Councillor Davey, as you've come in late, do you have any declarations of interest?
I don't, no.
Okay, thank you.
Right then, okay, I'm just having an IT meltdown here. Be with you in a moment. Okay, right then, so we will now move to the, sorry, within a second, where are we? Okay, so thank you very much for that. I'm sure that's made Charlie very happy. So now we will move to agenda item 9, the UK Shared Prosperity Fund Cultural Programme. And we're going to receive a presentation from Sarah Al-Gadi, cultural producer. Sarah.
Hello, hopefully you can see my screen. Everyone see it? Yeah, great. I'm Sarah, a cultural producer, and I'll be giving you an update on the SPF, or Shared Prosperity Fund Cultural Programme, Year 1. So this is a 3-year programme, and Year 1 is actually only January to March 2023, which is when I started. There's an outline in the report, item 1, which sort of has a breakdown of what we hope to achieve with the programme. But before we do that, I thought it would be helpful to zoom out a bit and just refresh on what the cultural strategy aims to achieve. So our vision is for East Devon to be a vibrant cultural ecosystem whose distinctive communities and outstanding natural environment are enhanced and enriched through creativity, curiosity, and collaboration. And so the values that underpin this strategy are resilience, collaboration, diversity and inclusivity, and connection with nature. There are 8 core themes in our cultural strategy. And for the Shared Prosperity Fund, we've focused specifically on the first item of the strategy, or theme of the strategy, which is strengthening the community. So this is theme 1, strengthening and supporting the people that do, and investing in our often volunteer-run cultural venues across East Devon. So in terms of sort of breaking down into key achievements and milestones in the first year, we can divide that into 3 sort of achievements. The first is setting up a new ACED website. So as you know, ACED stands for Arts and Culture East Devon, and we now have a new website which began its development at the start of the year and launched in June, the end of June. And if you haven't seen it yet, please go to aced.org.uk and you'll come to this home screen. So here you'll find all sorts of resources available around things like sustainability, inclusivity, funding opportunities, spaces for hire in East Devon, volunteering opportunities in East Devon, as well as our directory, which features, as Charlie said, over 120 members now, who have all fit into one of these key cultural themes, or sometimes more than one. So it's brilliant that so many people have engaged with the website, have signed up, and every week I'm adding more and more organisations and individuals to the ACE directory. On the website, we're also able to promote our training opportunities, which is another core stream of the SBF cultural programme. So in January to March, in the first year, we delivered training in fundraising and marketing, which was really well attended. And since then, we've also covered training in volunteer recruitment, carbon literacy, and collection care for museums with South Museum Development. Last week, we had training in governance at the Beehive, and coming up next year, we've got a workshop on public speaking, as well as setting up a mentoring training programme, which will connect members of the ACE network with young people, young professionals, to offer mentoring opportunities. So as I said, the feedback has been really positive, and we recently sent out a 6-month survey to anyone who attended this fundraising training. There were 19 participants, and the majority of the survey respondents said that they had been able to develop a more focused case for support, which had led to successfully obtaining grants since the training. So that's really brilliant. That's point 3 on the report, if you're looking at that. The third strand of the cultural programme has been supporting Thelma Holbert Gallery's Creative Cabin, and that was by hiring a truck to transport the cabin to various different locations across East Devon to increase cultural engagement, particularly in more hard-to-reach areas. Gemma can go into a bit more detail on that when she gives her update, but it made its first outing at the start of year 1 of the Shared Prosperity Fund cultural programme, and since then it's been to over 18 different locations, including primary schools, festivals like Exmouth Festival, Sidmouth Sea Festival, and different areas like Cranbrook. So in terms of what's coming up next, we've launched a new Creative East Devon fund where organisations can apply for up to £3,000 from a pot of £25,000. And we launched that a few weeks ago, and there's been a really positive response with over 23 organisations expressing interest in the fund, and we've had 7 submissions so far. The closing deadline is next Wednesday, the 15th of November. So I look forward to updating you on all the different projects that we'll be able to support through this fund. Finally, we're always looking to sort of monitor and evaluate the progress of the cultural programme and the cultural strategy in line with our goals, which remembering that this is a 10-year strategy, that our goals by 2031 are that East Devon's cultural offer is perceived as high quality, interesting, fun, relevant, accessible and well promoted, that residents have taken part in a cultural activity feel like their health, happiness and well-being has improved, that there's ample opportunities for children and young people, and that there are pathways to employment, that cultural organisations feel connected, and that there's increased investment into the arts, museums and heritage sector, that we increase diversity of visitors and audience, and that's not just diversity in terms of ethnicity, that's diversity in terms of all the protected characteristics, including age and so on, and that finally culture is helping to tackle the climate emergency, and that obviously links with our council our key council objective of a greener East Devon. I think that's a roundup, but just back to Charlie's point of to bear in mind that the Shared Prosperity Fund is 3 years of funding, and beyond that we don't have any funding in place to deliver the rest of the 7 years strategy, so we will need to be looking at other ways to fund the cultural strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, that's a really, really important point, that and another role that the forum will have going forward. Councillor Ian Barlow. Ian.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report, Sarah. I just wanted to ask a question. of the money that people are applying for at the present time, you said you've got 7 submissions so far, 23 applications in. How much do you think that's going to be oversubscribed at this stage?
If all of the expressions of interest are submitted, that's looking at about 50,000 total. So that would be half. We would be able to award half of the projects. So there's obviously a demand there for the funding, but it also means that we are able to sort of, in a sense, quality control the applications. That, you know, because you put in an application, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be successful in the funding. And we have specific criteria in terms of deliverability and public benefit and so on that we're looking at scoring, which are all online on the website to view. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you. Councillor Vicky Johns. Vicky.
Hi, sorry. I just wanted to declare a personal interest in this as well, because I attended those meetings in my work role capacity. So it's not a DPI, but if you could just make a note, please, that item 8 as well as 13, just so I'm all completely above board. But to be honest with you, if you do get a chance to go to those workshops with ACED, I would strongly recommend it. They are really, really useful. They're very interesting. You meet lots of wonderful people. And you do come away with a sense of belonging, which is really nice. Because actually, if you work within the arts at all, it can be quite a lonely thing, because you're on your own quite a lot. So it is nice to meet other people and find out what struggles they're having, how they are finding ways of getting around things, etc. So I commend you greatly for those. And I will be at the ones in February and March, I believe they are, aren't they? January, March. So I will see you then. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And if we could maybe, I don't know, Alicia or somebody could get hold of a link to the press release for this from when it started. I imagine it's on the East End website. You know, these are the sort of things, so the training programs, the grants, that it would be great if members of the forum could play a role in publicising them on social media, things like that. Because I think sometime, you know, it would be great to push the message out there, and I wouldn't say we all have a responsibility to it, but we all want this to succeed. So so that's great, and thank you for those kind words, Vicky. Do we have anybody else? Wrong button. Charlie.
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of quick points. Sarah's being very modest. I wanted to say she really hit the ground running. We had quite a delayed start, not through our fault, through the funding coming from DLUC for getting Shared Prosperity Fund up and running. And as Sarah said, you know, year one was really condensed into 3 months of delivery. So incredible work, you know, that was done by Sarah, but also behind the scenes by the economic development team, Tom Winters in particular. So a big sort of shout out to him and his team for making it work. And as they say, the proof's in the pudding with the demand that's come through. And delighted there's been such a positive response. But also, I think, Sarah, if it's correct, there's also a round 2 for the fund as well. I just wonder if it's worth just saying, just coming back on Councillor Barlow's point, that if you're not successful first time round, there's a second opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot to mention that round 2 will open in April, and we'll have a longer window for applications for projects to be complete by March 2025. But same premise, up to £3,000 and same size pot of £25,000.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And I imagine we'll have another meeting in between now and then, so that's something we can have a chat about at the next one. Councillor Arnott, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief. I was really going to say almost exactly what Charlie has just said. A huge praise for how quickly Sarah and colleagues have got this going, and the support of officers across the council. What I really loved about this, which is what we wanted from the start, is that there would be as little working in silos as possible. And I think for those of you who this time yesterday were at the meeting around the placemaking meeting for Exmouth, similarly a vision document is coming through there That's obviously a stage or two behind this. We've now got this. I think it's magnificent. I'm really proud of it. As proud to sort of lead this council that has this as part of it. Always, just in case quotes are taken out of context, I always say the same thing. This is primarily about quality of life and all of those things, and personal enhancement and so forth. But it is also about the economy. Genuinely, don't let us underestimate the power of this document and this vision in enabling our officers and lead councillors to go to funders, both state sector and private sector, looking for partnership, support, donation, and whatever. It's absolutely crucial. We just weren't in that position a few years ago. We now are. And this is one of those strange little silver linings that has, to a certain extent, come out of the pandemic, that preparatory work could happen under the radar. Brilliant meetings were had on Zoom. I managed to attend most of them. Now they're happening in person. It's something, it feels like it's cascading down through the community. And as Charlie said, the fact that there were 50 applications this time, and quite rightly, there is a second fund coming as well. I think that shows that this is something that people are aware of. So I just want to say congratulations to everybody involved in this, and I hope this committee feels very proud of its own role in supporting it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, I echo that. I mean, officer support has been marvellous for this, and you're right, especially when it comes to the sort of the fourth year and beyond of this, where we're looking for funding, having a strategy in place that's there and halfway through will be really, really useful. Do we have any more? Councillor Jenny Brown. Jenny.
Hi there. Yeah, just to say, I am absolutely thrilled to see arts, culture and tourism taking such a forward step. It was so hard a few years ago. I think Charlie will remember with Thelma Holbert Gallery, it was not a good place to be. This is absolutely fantastic. And I went to the governance meeting that Sarah had organised. That was so interesting. Who would have thought it? And also to ask, this tranche that's coming through at the moment for the 3,000, has that got to be used and in place by March?
Yes,
right.
That's correct.
Okay. Right, thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hookway. Nick.
Thank you, Joe. Yes, again, echo Councillor Arnott. Big thanks to officers, particularly Sarah and Charlie, who've done fantastic work in recent times. Also, Gemma for her hard work at Thelma Holbert Gallery. And I wanted to really add to what Sarah was saying, just to reassure people about decisions regarding the applications to the Creative East Devon Fund. I think it's important to note that every single one will be scrutinised and decided upon by what's known as the Shared Prosperity Fund panel, which is a politically balanced group of councillors. We know we can't meet every single one, but we will make a decision on every single one thoroughly and go through it. So that's just to reassure people. It's not going to be a rubber stamp. It will be properly discussed and decided upon. And the other thing is that after the 3 years, which Sarah mentioned on, I do have concerns about where we're going to get money for future Shared Prosperity Fund money. There is talk that Devon County Council might take over the Shared Prosperity Fund. I think that would be a very backward step. I think the work that we've done here shows the great strength of grassroots organisation for cultural activities. We've achieved so much in such a short time. I would hate that to be disrupted in any way. So if you are aware of decisions or comments, please do try to support what we're doing here. I think it is really, really important, significant, and a major achievement. Thank you, Chair.
Nick. Okay, so we don't have anybody else wishing to speak at this point. We do have a recommendation that the Arts and Culture Forum endorses this report and the successful delivery of the Year 1 outputs of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund cultural programme. Alithia, should we do this by green ticks?
Yes, please. So if you could vote using your green tick or your red cross or a hand to abstain. Okay, Chair, so 8 green ticks, no red crosses, that's that carry forward.
Thank you very much, everybody. So we now move to agenda item 10, Southwest Museums development. Do we have Victoria here? Victoria Harding?
Hi, yes.
Hi there. Please continue.
Thank you. So I just share screen if that's okay. Hopefully you can see.
Yeah,
great.
That's working.
Okay, and hopefully you can now see it also from the beginning. Great, thank you. Well, firstly, thank you very much for the invitation to join the meeting today. My name is Victoria Harding. I'm the Programme Manager from Southwest Museum Development. Before I start my presentation, I'd like to just talk a little bit around the museums in general, the museum sector. So as part of a England-wide research project that we run each year, and this has been the 10th year in 2023, we're able to get a really clear idea around the makeup of the museum sector across England. And the reason for sharing this with you today is to really highlight some key distinctions around museums for the Southwest particularly. And the points I'd like to highlight are that we have the highest proportion of independent museums. So that by that, I mean independent charities. So for example, hearing around building capacity and training and governance is an incredibly important alignment that has been expressed through the cultural strategy. Importantly to highlight also in the Southwest, the vast majority of our museums are what we call micro museums. So they welcome fewer than 10,000 visits per annum. So it gives you a real feel of the sort of makeup of museums in the Southwest and equally that are in East Devon. I think it's useful also to still take a moment to think about the ongoing impact of the pandemic. So whilst initially, of course, due to enforced closure, we saw visit numbers reduced to 88% of pre-pandemic levels, actually in reality what's happening is the cultural sector is still working incredibly hard to regain what was lost as a part of that pandemic. So visit numbers are still down 8% in the Southwest. However, they're actually still 18% down in comparison to England. So actually we're doing quite well. I think some of that is around, for example, bounce back in terms of local tourism and staycations. A key factor that I would also highlight for our region is around the high number of volunteer-run museums, by which I mean there are no paid staff, but which mean the amazing work and amazing output of the museums that are delivered across the Southwest are wholly run by volunteers, which is a really powerful insight into the museums that we're here to support. And then finally, to say that 37% have an annual turnover of less than 25,000. So those factors combined hopefully help to illustrate the makeup of the museums in the Southwest that are predominantly small, independent, wholly volunteer-run museums that are small to medium enterprises. So just jumping back for a moment around what is Southwest Museum Development. Well, museum development is a national programme. It runs across the whole of England, and there is a museum development provider like us in each of those regions. And we are what's called an Arts Council England sector support organisation, by which means we don't deliver museum services ourselves, but we support the museum sector. So we're there as a development agency for them. And we've been a sector support organisation, NPO, or National Portfolio Organisation, since 2018. And for our programme, we offer a range of in-depth support programme support around key areas. So for example, around collections development, around volunteer development, and around audience development. And those reasons for those three priorities are very much built on the priorities of the museums that we are here to serve. So that's what are articulated by the museums as their priorities going forward. A key point I would highlight, which is maybe a point of distinction between us and the Southwest and the way that other museum development providers run across the rest of England, is we have a framework of local museum development officers. So unfortunately, Jo Cairns isn't available to join us today, but was at a previous meeting with you. She is the dedicated MDO for Devon, and we have a programme of 8 local museum development officers across the southwest. So that local provision is really important. It's not all delivered by one organisation sitting centrally in Bristol, for example. South West Museum Development is a primary training provider, by which we mean we reach high numbers of museum workforce and heritage workforce across the southwest. All of our training is available for free, and we engage high numbers of both volunteers and paid staff each year. We distribute a small grant programme, so listening really carefully to some of the information around the grant programme that you're operating in East Devon. There is also a small grant programme which is available to museums through South West Museum Development, and we're often supporting organisations to use our funding for seed funding, so very much opportunities to maybe start a project, to test a project, where there may be an idea, in order to be able to make sure those organisations are well placed to go for a larger funding application. So, for example, National Lottery or Arts Council. So we like to think about a little bit as taking out some of the risk and really getting a good investment at the early stage to really understand what the scale of the bigger project might take, so that it really supports the capacity of that organisation. And we consider that's a really good way to make that inward investment really sustainable and have the impact and effect that's intended by that grant programme. We also deliver what's called technical accreditation service, by which I mean there is a national standard for museums, which is called the Museum Accreditation Scheme, and we're there to support organisations both to achieve that standard and also to maintain that standard. So we do, for example, site visits, or we might work individually with an organisation to develop some of the documentation to support that accreditation. And we also deliver a range of projects with cohorts of museums, and that often is involving us securing larger grants, say, for example, from Arts Council, from Historic England, and take out maybe some of the administration and some of the sort of slightly more grayer areas of that process, and make sure that the investment goes directly into the museums where they need it. So just to give you a bit of a feel for what we achieved last year, we engaged and supported over 200 museums across 22-23. We engaged and delivered training to 529 delegates. And very importantly, we used our Arts Council investment to leverage more money so it could increase the investment in the museum sector. So on top of our grant, we were able to increase the value of £820,000, which is invested in museums across the southwest. And that has really been directly through our partnership and investment secured from organisations including the Heritage Fund, working very closely with the Art Fund as part of the Wild Escape, and I'll be pleased to share a little bit more with you about how that worked in East Devon. So I've mentioned about our museum development officers. As I mentioned, Joanna can't be with us here today, but she's already made great strides working very closely with the ACE network and also reaching out to many of the museums and heritage organisations across East Devon to make sure they understand they have a really strong point of contact and support to understand what the opportunities are, not just from South West Museum Development, but from the wider national bodies, so that we can really pull down those opportunities to local level. So some of the activity that Jo shared with me that she'd like to share with you today is she's sort of somewhat reignited the East Devon Museums Group, and having a strong museums group is really helpful because that allows them to really share practice, understand opportunities, but also connect them back into the ACE network, which Jo attends herself as well. She's been working closely with Ottery St Mary, Exmouth Museum and Wimble Heritage on the eligibility process of technical accreditation, by which she means that's about Jo working with these organisations to help them understand how to prepare for if they want to apply and to submit for accreditation, which requires a preliminary eligibility process, and also supported the successful submission of accreditation return for Sidmouth Museum. So that's a real point of celebration for Sidmouth Museum. It's actually a considerable amount of work to become accredited, and it's a real stamp an endorsement of a quality standard that Sidmouth Museum are achieving. And as a result of that, many funders, particularly Lottery and Arts Council, will have increased confidence in Sidmouth Museum, that they have their forward planning in place, that they have appropriate governance structures in place. So I think that's a real point for celebration. And also another key role that MDOs deliver is they work very closely with museums to support them on developing grant applications. So helping them to understand where their projects might look for grant applications, or grant funding rather. So helping museums to understand which funder is best placed to fund that project, but then also supporting them to develop that grant application. So it's great to hear that Cause Forward, the trainer for fundraising, we work with them a lot. They're absolutely brilliant, and they're really strong at helping organisations make their case for investment, which is really the sort of first step in securing funding. And then also to mention, as I mentioned before, that Joe's joined ACE as the Museum and Heritage Champion as well. So making sure that link between the museum groups and the ACE network is really strong. So I mentioned before about a partnership with the Art Fund. We were really delighted to secure a little over 300,000 across England from Art Fund through museum development. So effectively distributed their funding to us to distribute for museums and galleries across the Southwest. And Thelma Hubert Gallery, in partnership with Honiton Museum, actually we're only one of two consortia. Even though there was a consortia opportunity, we're quite surprised to see how few organisations went in as a consortia. So it's needless to say, Art Fund were especially excited because not only was it a consortia, it was a partnership between a museum and an art gallery. So that was a really good example of some of the work that's been achieved, and has featured actually quite highly in Art Fund's own promotion and reporting back to Arts Council about the success of the Wild Escape programme. So I just wanted to share some pictures that were shared with me from the Thelma Hubert Gallery as part of their reporting to us. Really lovely, lovely activity. And I think the Honiton Hippo seemed to generate quite a lot of interest at national level in conversations with Art Fund and the Arts Council. So all these small bits contribute to a positive picture of culture and art activity in East Devon with those national funders. So I'm just going to take a moment now to talk about the investment that East Devon, Sidmouth and Budleigh Salterton make in South West Museum development, and how we really benefit and appreciate that investment, and how we really work to stretch that investment. So over the last 4 years, we've been able to achieve a 300% return on investment, by which I mean the 12,400 that's been invested from those local authorities has enabled all the other activity that you see around in that circle. So, for example, £5,000 invested in special projects from Lottery, nearly £2,000 worth of benefit in training. Those museums in East Devon have received a little over £5,500 in grants. That excludes the 6 that I just mentioned, obviously from the most recent Wild Escape project. And then also a little under £4,000 worth of value in consultancy around specialist services. So, for example, in conservation or in volunteer or in other development areas. And then just looking at the very last year, 2023, again, we've been able to unlock £12,300 worth of investment. So £7,000 worth of grants direct to museums, a little over 4,000 in MDO provision, by which I mean that in dedicated posts to Devon, Joanna Kearns, who's our MDO, and then also funding through support through specialist services. So hopefully you'll agree that that feels like a really meaningful investment, and one that actually really reaches the museums and heritage organisations that you're seeking to support with that investment. And then finally, just to say, I'm absolutely delighted, and no doubt, as you probably can imagine, very relieved to say that we have secured funding from Arts Council for the following 2 years, 24-26. So that is an open competitive process. If anyone has ventured into funding applications with Art Fund, you know that it's no mean feat to get over the line. It's a big task, but we're absolutely delighted to have secured funding for 24-26. And we're seeking to continue to work in partnership with East Devon and Sidmouth and other towns and council authorities across the whole of East Devon and, of course, South West. And if you wanted to hear more about South West Museum Development and the work that we delivered, I've just showed a snippet, the front cover of our latest annual review, which will be printed soon and winging its way out to key contacts. If you'd like to receive a hard copy, please do let me know. We have a very short print run, but yeah, and that's really everything. So I will just stop sharing and open for any questions.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. It's really interesting. And as somebody who's just getting involved with museums, that is that's really, really interesting to hear. Do we have any questions or any comments from the floor at all? Councillor Jenny Brown.
Hi there. Just to say that's brilliant, and Honiton Town Council are taking the Wild Escape to the next stage, and we've got funding from South West Railways and Devon and Cornwall Rail Partnership. And the murals that the children did, rather than sitting in a cupboard, are now being turned into vinyls that are going inside the railway bridge, going across from platform 1 to 2. And they should be installed within the next few days. Hopefully it will be dry. And so it's just a really nice thing. The children will actually be able to see their artwork forever now. As
That's
long as
fantastic.
they love it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's really lovely to hear.
Updated.
Thank you. Please do, because one thing that I suppose I didn't mention is, and it sort of points back to that earlier conversation, really, sort of working in partnership with Sarah, the more that we can do to raise the profile of the activity that's happening in East Devon with those funders such as Arts Council is really important. Now, the Wild Escape was actually delivered and part funded by Art Fund, but actually its core funding came from Arts Council, and it was the largest National Lottery Project grant that was distributed through to museums to date. And we're right now having conversations with the Arts Council about how we can support all of the organisations that undertook activities and project work with the Wild Escape, to understand how we can support them with funding from National Lottery Project grants going forward. So that's something that would be really useful to connect in with Sarah, because Arts Council are really looking to increase the engagement of particularly museums, because they're underrepresented in the take up of National Lottery Project grants. At the moment, I think it's 0.01% of museums that actually secure National Lottery Project grants. So there's real opportunity there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And thanks for bringing that up, Jenny. That sounds great. So we now have Councillor Nick Hookway. Nick. You're muted, Nick.
Thank you, Joe. Apologies.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Well, okay. So thanks to Victoria for a fascinating report. Very interesting. Glad to see such wonderful return on investment, but also significantly, congratulations on getting our Arts Council funding for the next 2 years. That's really, really positive news. We do seem to be in the Arts Council's good books at the moment. Long may that continue, but I think that's a really, really positive message that we are getting funding. And I think we should do a press release about that at some point. So perhaps you and I can get together at some point and we'll put a press release together through our press team, because that sort of good news really must be spread, because you've got so many volunteers, which is wonderful to hear, and we must give feedback to them that their hard work is really being appreciated and acknowledged. So congratulations, well done for me. I think that's
Thank you.
brilliant.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Nick. Do we have anybody else wishing to comment? Not that I can see. So thank you very much, Victoria. That was great. We will now move to. We were going to hear from Villages in Action, but Mayor George can't be here today. So there is a report in the agenda pack. So please read that if you can. So now we will hear item number 12 on the agenda from Joe Avery, East Devon District Council's Management Officer, on the UK Shared Prosperity Fund Culture and Leisure Programme update. Just a verbal update from her. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, thank you for inviting me to come along and just provide a brief update to you all on how the Shared Prosperity Fund, the community groups, the funding to help community groups and the tourist industry in terms of decarbonisation. It was a grant scheme that was run through the summer. We had almost £190,000 to provide grants, and it was open to community groups and also tourism businesses for them to apply for funding to help with decarbonising their premises. Community organisations were able to apply for grants of up to £20,000. And tourism businesses were able to apply for grants for up to £5,000. We had in total 38 applications, which was really good. Just goes to show the demand out there. We had 20 of those applications were from community groups. In the end, with the funding, we were able to help support 9 community groups because obviously they were applying for up to £20,000. And we actually gave to community groups. We provided funding for over £117,000 worth of grants. So it felt really successful this year. We've got more money coming next year. We've got £320,000 of funding to help decarbonise, to do more decarbonisation work for community organisations. The process for next year will be very similar to the one this year, although we are looking at ways we can improve and maybe change slightly for next year. And we'll put forward information about when exactly that process will run and how it will run. And we hope to provide as well next time more support beforehand to help organisations understand exactly what decarbonisation means and what they need to do to apply. As I say, I think there's a lot of need out there for this money. We hope we can do an even better job next time with supporting organisations. You can find a full list of all the successful organisations on our website. If you go into our website and look at CLTF, you can find some more information there as well about who actually received funding. Yes, unless anyone's got any questions.
I've done it again, haven't I, Charlie?
Thanks, Joe. And again, as said Sarah, you've done brilliantly with getting this initiative off the ground. Again, an incredibly short period of time, and the response has been really encouraging. So, big thanks to all the hard work you put in. It's really appreciated. I just wanted to, alongside this, make members aware of a wider piece of work we're doing that Tim Child is leading. It was taken to Cabinet quite recently. He's the Assistant Director for Place Assets and Commercialisation around looking to decarbonise our asset base, so around our swimming pools and leisure centres and other sort of key buildings that we've got, which is a really big programme. So this work synergizes really well with the corporate work that's being undertaken by Tim. So just to sort of make members aware, it's a piece of a much bigger corporate programme that we're undertaking currently.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we have any further questions? Ian Barlow. Ian.
Thank you. Just a question you said you've done £117,000 been handed out to community groups. I presume the rest of it went to businesses then, is that correct? Was it all subscribed? And how much oversubscribed in total was it?
So yes, so we were able to, it was fully subscribed, so we spent all of the money, and we had about, well, just under £300,000 worth of applications, as it were. So it was quite oversubscribed. There was a lot of organisations, unfortunately, we had to turn down. But yeah, we did spend it all, and I think it was nearly £90,000 that we gave to tourism businesses in terms of grants. For them, we were able to support more because their grants were only up to £5,000. But yes, there's certainly demand out there. So, we hope that next year, with an even bigger pot, we can be even more successful as well.
And are we counting the amount of carbon we're saving with that money? So do we get a sort of ratio of tons of carbon per pound that we're spending?
Well, I haven't done that, but we estimate that it should save on what we've spent out this year, should save about 70 tons of carbon per year from the money that we spent out this year.
So that's 70 tons for 180,000, was it, from memory you said you spent?
Yes, yes.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. Paula Fernie, Councillor.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Great initiative. Really like it. What qualifies you to be a community organisation?
So let me just refresh my memory on what we were asking in terms of it was open to sort of any community organisation. So particularly with a rural focus. So rural community organisations with a legal status, clear cultural leisure focus, including charities, community interest groups, social enterprises, voluntary organisations, religious institutions, local authorities, education providers, and any other public body sector. So it's quite a wide range of community organisations that we were happy to support.
Does public body sector mean parishes as well, then, like parish councils?
Yes, parish councils could apply, yes. Yeah.
Very helpful.
Thank you very much, Paula. Councillor Nick Hookway. Nick. Sorry. That's 2 all now, Nick.
Okay, I wasn't counting actually, but anyway. I lost my thread now, thank you. So anyway, I just really want to finish off and say a really big thank you to all officers who were involved in working with this. It was a tremendous effort, really was very efficiently handled, and that's really great to see. So thank you from me for that. Ian's comment about the amount of carbon saved is actually quite interesting. But when you look at the criteria are very, very tight that officers have to work to, and much of the grants went on quite small pieces of equipment, which all add up eventually to a much bigger saving. But it is an interesting point to work out how much carbon has been saved, and that's something perhaps may have to think about later on. But it was very tightly controlled, micromanaged, you could almost say, from government. So hopefully this fund will go from success to success. And the other point I will mention, Joe mentioned about it being a rural fund, because it was rural based. My own town, Exmouth, was actually excluded from the fund because Exmouth is regarded as urban. So it's not for every single organisation. There are restrictions. So again, thanks very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Nick. Councillor Ian Barlow, is that an old hand, or do you just want to come back?
No, it's just a topping up on what I said. I mean, just very quickly working that out, £180,000, 70 tonnes. It's £2,500 a tonne. That actually seems incredibly good value compared to what we were talking about with what was just mentioned about the swimming pools and the sports leisure system, which we're spending £333,000 to do a survey, not to do the work, on 3 swimming pools or 3 leisure centres swimming pools, which are hoping to save 200 tonnes. And we've then got to spend between 5 and 10 million quid. I keep going back to this. We have limited resources. What we need to do is target our resources to get the best return on carbon saved. And that is the thing that I think perhaps we as a council should be concentrating more on, looking at the figures. I know I keep getting told it's not a business, but it is a business in some ways. And if you look at it like that, actually, we'll make our resources go better. We'll save more carbon short term, and we can leave the big and really complicated ones till perhaps a little bit later when we get a little bit wiser and the technology improves to actually help save this. But I shall shut up now.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine, Ian. You know, and I think when we have projects like this, we can use them to to, you know, to prove that there are other ways, or there are complementary ways of doing things. We don't seem to have any more questions.
Can I just
another question?
Well, it was just that we have this money in our carbon pot, and the only reason that we're doing this swimming pool is because we haven't spent any of it, £870,000, and none of it's been spent over the last 2 or 3 years, or very little of it. And I just wonder if Jo and her team could perhaps do with a little bit more money out of that pot, rather than spend it on things that realistically we're not going to be able to do. If you listen to the officer's report on the swimming pools, that even though we're spending £333,000, there is very little chance of it actually happening certainly in the near future.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Your point is heard. Swimming pools aren't really within the remit of this meeting, but I do take your point. Councillor, right, I suspect this is going to turn into a debate about what's just been said. Can I ask Councillor Arnott and Councillor Young, is that in reply to what Ian has just said? Because we really need to focus on the topics at hand today.
It is inspired by it, but not.
Has it got anything to do with arts and culture, Paul?
It is to do with arts and culture, precisely. Okay, so I think to reassure Ian, the reason that, well, many reasons, but one of the reasons we need to be shown to be doing stuff around climate action in this work, as well as the other completely separate work which is mentioned, which happens to come under Charlie's other domain but isn't suitable for this meeting, is because when Sarah and others fill the forms in to apply for funding further up the line, the question will always be, there'll be questions around all sorts of things, from diversity to climate action. And so we need to be showing that we are doing this stuff, even if it's in the very early days. I hope that's relevant enough, Jo, to arts and culture.
I'll let you off, Paul.
Thank you.
Jeff, Councillor Young.
Just to point out that we need to separate what we have to do ourselves for our carbon footprint and how we help others to do their carbon offsetting. Only that. Thank you.
No, that's fine. And this is very much based around that, isn't it? So thank you very, very much indeed. Right, quick, move on, Wibbly. Thank you very much, Jo. Really useful and has provoked some debate. We will now move to item number 13 on the agenda, from the Thelma Hulbert Gallery. Gemma Girvan, who is now the manager and curator. At this point, I would like to welcome you to that. So we're all delighted that you're here, and also to thank you and pay, I don't want to say pay tribute, because that makes things sound all, you know, like something terrible's happened, but to say, you know, say huge thanks to Ruth, who was really, really helpful to me when I first took this role on, and the very, very best of luck, Gemma. So yeah, we're now going to have a presentation from Gemma about the upcoming programme, I believe, at the Thelma Hulbert Gallery. Thank you.
Thanks, Jo. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm not liking the fact that I'm item 13 and I've not done this before, so let me just, hopefully this will work properly. So hopefully you're seeing my presentation.
Not yet, no.
Are you not? Oh no.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hopefully Leithia might be able to help.
I'm wondering, the blind leading the blind.
Host disabled participants. I've got host disabled participant screen sharing.
That's strange. I'll make you co-host again.
All will be revealed when you're co-host.
Yeah, so you should be able to do it now.
Can you see it now?
No. So there's a green, can you see at the bottom, you should have a green button with an arrow up saying share screen.
Yeah.
If you click on that, it should then bring you up options, what screen. So be careful what you share.
Yeah.
We're in.
Screen.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Right, and are you seeing that in full?
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. Sorry. So hi there, I'm Gemma Gervin. As Joe introduced me, I'm the new gallery manager and curator at the Thelma Holbert Gallery, replacing Ruth, and big shoes to fill there. I'm not new to the gallery. I've been working here for the last 9.5 years in various capacities, so I know the gallery really well, and I'm really passionate about the gallery and looking forward to taking it on to its next phase. I'm already on the wrong slide, so that's the first slide. We've had a really good year at the Thelma Holbert Gallery. Here are the highlights of 2023. So we've been awarded Arts Council grant for our COS project, awarded, as Victoria mentioned, the Art Fund funding for the Wild Escape project. Our Paradise Found exhibition had record sales and pre-pandemic visitor figures. Our autumn workshops have sold out. We've had 4 exhibitions in a row in The Guardian, BBC coverage of our summer workshops, record-breaking applications to our Open 2023. Some of my colleagues have taken part in carbon literacy training and also are now doing trainer training to deliver that to the rest of the team. And then I've got some stats here. These are based on financial year to date this year compared to 2019-2020. So we're thrilled that the gallery sales are 62% up, donations are 17% up, and gallery visitors are 5% up, with our outreach programme reaching 3,700 adults and young people. Just a table of stats here. You can see I've highlighted where those sales are increasing, the donations are increasing, and the gallery visitors are increasing. So yeah, we're really thrilled with how this year is going. So the theme of the exhibitions for this year, 2023, was Landscapes in Time. I won't go through this in too much detail because I believe Ruth did that at the last meeting. But just to say we're thrilled with how those exhibitions have been delivered and received. I particularly want to talk about Paradise Found, New Vision of the Blackdown Hills, as we were thrilled how this exhibition went. We had 36 contemporary artists who walked in the footsteps of 7 historic artists who were part of the Camden Town Group, of which Thelma Holbert was a member. We saw pre-pandemic visitor figures for this exhibition, record-breaking sales with our highest value painting being sold yet. And the exhibition encouraged local visitors, historic group, national visitors, and also encouraged some of our partnerships with text panels being written by the Blackdown Hills AONB. Yeah, so we were thrilled with that exhibition. Also to mention the THG Open, we had record-breaking entries to this, to our Open. It's been our first one since 2018. We had over 450 entries with 87 finalists being chosen. The overall winner and the Young Person Award winner will be having exhibitions next year, and their prize money was kindly donated by Bairns Hampton and Littlewood. So we have one more exhibition to deliver of Landscapes in Time, which is Present Makers, which I'm literally sat in a room at the moment, which is full of fantastic craft, which we're just displaying. So the exhibition opens on Saturday with a Christmas shopping event with live demos. This exhibition grows in popularity each year, and this year we've collaborated with Contemporary Glass Society to really shine a spotlight on glass. Our coordinating workshops for this exhibition have sold out, so we'd love to welcome you on Saturday, or the exhibition continues till the 23rd of December. To touch on funding, obviously Victoria mentioned our Art Fund Wild Escape project, so I won't go into that in too much detail, but as Victoria said, we're thrilled with this project, and the Honiton Hippo. Yeah, I think he's gone back to the school now, but he was talked about a lot. So that was fantastic. We've also awarded Arts Council funding for our Create Our Space project. This is partway through. We're about a year into this funding with another 6 months to go. So just to talk through the aims of this funding, is to create opportunities to engage with arts, culture and climate, responding to the needs of East Devon's young people from the ages 7 to 25, to grow in the youth network, to engage a student intern, to produce projects and exhibitions with the creative network, to host young person-led training. So this will be carbon literacy and DEI training, transform THG's engagement programme and strengthen relationships with East Devon communities, so schools and other groups. So just to show the highlights, so obviously the Wild Escapes project is now concluded, but this engaged with over 600 children and young people, and concluded with our Earth Day event, which saw over 200 people visit the gallery. Many of them Honiton Primary School students and their families, and a lot of those families have revisited the gallery since. Our Create Our Space project, so the Arts Council funded project, has already delivered a comprehensive programme of workshops and events, and we're going to continue this into next year. So highlights so far, we've had 3 network meetings with those young people, 13 workshops, 7 festivals and events attended, 3 Selma Holbert Gallery events, a summer art week spanning over 5 days. We've engaged with over 3,700 adults and young people, and have seen workshops with Honiton Community College, Honiton Primary and other East Devon primary schools, and we've delivered 9 of those with many more to go next year. So we're thrilled with how that funding is being delivered. Going on to the cultural strategy, obviously Sarah Gaddy's just spoken, but just to reaffirm how the THG or Selma Holbert Gallery is aligned to the East Devon cultural strategy and a vital partner in delivering it. Excuse me, I just come from water a second. So as Sarah said, there's many themes. Just to highlight a couple of those themes and how we're delivering against those. So protecting the environment. So we're thrilled we've already delivered 4 climate conversations with artists, and our Leonie Hampton and Karina Wagner exhibitions as part of Landscapes in Time really highlight the climate emergency. And then new places for culture, ensuring East Devon residents, especially children and young people, can experience high quality culture and creativity in their local areas. The Creative Cabin has been out to Cranbrook to 2 of their family days and engaged with over 700 people over those 2 events. So we'll certainly be continuing to do that. Onto the programme for next year, so 2024. So the theme of this programme is process and place. So we will be exploring creative process through time and place. So this will be done with art in the form of climate care and action, supporting and showcasing local Southwest artists, considering human engagement with the earth, art and artefacts, researching our cultural heritage, and engagement and reviving of forgotten craft techniques. So 2024 kicks off with Mikhail Karakas. This is the second of Mikhail's films that will be showing at the gallery, but this is the first ever UK showing of Acoustics of Resistance, which really focuses on the climate emergency. Mikhail will be turning the gallery into an indoor weather system. He'll also be engaging with pupils from Honiton Community College as part of the COS project. Whatever they create, it'll either be an exhibition or some sort of production that will be alongside the exhibition in January. I'm also hoping Mikhail will carry on with the Climate Conversations programme as part of this exhibition. On to Southwest Academy in March. So this will be an exhibition featuring new works by academicians and associate members of the Southwest Academy. All works will be for sale and there'll be an accompanying catalogue. And alongside this exhibition will be Rebecca Partridge, who's an internationally and nationally known artist, born in Devon, now based in London, who is in receipt of an Arts Council grant. Her large-scale pieces and smaller wildflower pieces will be displayed in the gallery downstairs and also Rebecca would like to be part of the Climate Conversations programme as well. Our THG Open winners I mentioned earlier, so Sharon James is the overall winner. Sharon's paintings focus on her children and are an extension of her self-portrait and heritage. And then we have Carl Baker, who was our Under 25 winner. He is an East Devon-based photographer who photographs very local scenes like Jacob's Ladder. He was in receipt of he's an emerging artist who set up business in 2016 with the help of the Prince's Trust. So he'll be in the lower galleries. And then on to Seam Collective in July. Seam Collective is a contemporary textile collective of 15 emerging and established textile artists. They share the commitment of pushing boundaries of craft and making high quality objects. So this exhibition is coming to us fully funded and with a fully funded engagement programme and workshop programme, which we're just working on at the moment. And then in September, on to Philippa Lawrence, who is a Bristol-based artist based at Spike Island. So Philippa considers human engagement with earth, art and artefacts. Her ongoing research looks into cultural heritage and engagement with the last practitioners of traditional craft and skills. So this is a retrospective as well as some new work for the gallery. And then we'll see ourselves going back to Present Makers, which takes place every year as a Christmas selling exhibition. So just to conclude, Present Makers starts on Saturday. Please do come along to the opening if you're able. Otherwise, we look forward to welcoming you as the exhibition continues till the 23rd of December. So that's me, and I don't know how I stop sharing. How do I stop sharing?
There we go. Brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done for the report and for the technical prowess. Thank you very, very much indeed. Just looking at the figures that you showed us from, donations and sales and things, the Present Makers is really, really important. So again, a call to all members. There's quite a lot of literature and publicity about it. Let people know, get people there. I aim to be there on Saturday, public transport permitting. Do we have any questions from, we have lots of questions. Are these old hands or? No. Okay, Councillor Young.
Thank you for that presentation. Brilliant. Connecting art and culture with climate change and the countryside is most welcome. And as an ex-photographer myself, seeing photography being featured as an art form, that's really good as well. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Davey, Ollie.
I was just going to say I came to the Blackdown Hills exhibition, which I thought was just superbly curated. It had everything. It had history, geography, and some absolutely stunning paintings. And I found it a really exciting and interesting and revealing exhibition of artists I didn't know about. So I thought it was really good. And you've got obviously some really exciting exhibitions coming up, and you don't play safe, do you? This is cutting edge stuff. And I think we're extremely lucky to have this in East Devon. It's a national treasure, really, and really raises our profile as a place for the arts. And I love all the outreach you're doing as well, particularly the work with children. So more of the same, please.
Thank you very much, Ollie. Completely agree. Councillor Hookway, Nick.
Yes, similar theme really to Councillor Davey. I thought Paradise Found was a really good exhibition. It opened my eyes to the joys of Downhills, which I don't know a great deal about still, but it was fascinating to see the number of people, and also to meet a different profile of people. I met people that I don't normally see on sort of a day-to-day basis, and I think, Gemma, you probably undersold it slightly. I think Paradise Found had an international reach. We had people there who were involved with the collection who are based in America, and anything like that gets the message across about the importance that we as a district give to arts and culture. I think that was really, really impressive. I get a real buzz every time I go to the Thurman Hamlet Gallery because there are people there that are really engaged. We've got artists, local artists who are really competing to try and exhibit there. And it's quite clear from the figures that things are moving in the right direction. So big thank you from me, a big well done, and please keep going, doing what you're doing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Nick. Charlie Plowden.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just following on from Nick, great presentation, Jem. You really rattled through that and just shows how much has gone on and all the exciting things that are planned in the future. What I just wanted to pick out for forum members, which was hidden in there, but is a real cause of celebration, is the bounce back. And I know it's something that Graham will talk about with the Manor Pavilion Theatre shortly. But what Jem was showing is how the gallery is back to its it's very close to and surpassing some areas its pre-COVID performance in terms of income and footfall. And we've worked really hard since COVID, particularly with our cultural venues, to recapture the sort of lost income and in some cases some lost audiences, and that work is ongoing. I'm not saying it's done, but I think it's very important that members are aware that we keep a very beady eye, on the bottom line, and making sure that, as always, we work super hard to bring in funding, to control our controllables, to increase our footfall, and make sure that we offer fantastic value for money, particularly through our outreach program, as Jem has outlined. But just to reassure forum members that we never lose sight of the business elements, and that we work super hard to make sure that we're squeezing every last drop out of them.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much indeed, Charlie. Right. So I'm having some IT issues here again. Okay, so item number 14. Thank you very much, Gemma. Brilliant work. Item number 14 on the agenda, a report from Graham Whitlock, the theatre manager, who'll give a report on the progress made following theatre closures during COVID, which has been an incredibly challenging time for those, probably one of the hardest among arts institutions. Graham.
Hello and good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Joe. What I would love to do this morning is talk about the last 6 months, what's happened, what's achieved, and the fact that actually theatre changes on such a regular basis, and we must never stand still. We've just come out of our summer season, which is 12 plays in 12 weeks. It means the venue is open from Monday to Saturday, and it's been incredibly successful this year. It was presented by Paul Taylor Mills. It was his 10th year of presenting the summer play season. And in our programme, we had 3 plays that he had presented before. And we were concerned because we thought, do we repeat them? And will people come back and see them? My concerns and worries went out the window very quickly when we saw that people actually had enjoyed those 3 productions and actually wanted to see them again. They were probably presented about 5 or 6 years ago, and so they were still in people's minds, but they were their favourites. And so it was actually quite a clever thing to do with the season. As a direct result, the summer season did incredibly well this year, with over 10,000 people coming through the building in just those 3 months. We're now in discussions for next year and hoping to be able to announce earlier than ever before what the season is, the list of plays, etc. We talk about an audience that we may have lost over COVID and haven't returned. There are people that have still not returned, regular customers, but there's a new audience coming through as well. And we were really genuinely surprised by how many people were saying this is the first time that they've actually visited the venue. They were either on holiday, they were local, and they actually had never been before. We have also worked very hard and continue to do so, doing Facebook and much more different approach of actually selling the summer season. The season ran extremely well, and as I say, we're looking forward to next year. They're currently looking at the plays that they want to present. Sometimes we can't always present what we want to because we can't get the rights to it, because shows are going out, etc. But we're looking at a very exciting season ahead for the new year. We've also now gone into our autumn program, and it really wasn't that long ago that you'd have seasons and you would announce things and you would have a what's on guide. And I can actually remember putting shows on and you'd have a queue outside. That's actually changed now, and you can actually put a show on as early as you like. And it's incredible that you actually start selling it. A classic example was this year we had a Fleetwood Mac tribute show, and it went on sale well in advance, almost 6 to 7 months in advance of it actually being at the venue, and it started to sell instantly. And it was quite incredible because it wasn't that long ago that something wouldn't sell that early. So this business, theatre business, is recovering, but is also very much changing. And we as a venue have got to make sure that we keep ahead and that we change with it. Theatre should always be business-like, although not regarded as a business. But to survive, we have to be business-like. And we have to change and adapt to that and encourage those new audiences to come in. We have got a great program coming up where it's very well to say, yes, everything's doing really well, but let me give you some examples. We've got the New Jersey Boys tribute show on Saturday. It's virtually sold out with a few single seats left. We've got a variety show that's in for 3 nights. That's now completely sold out. We've got a midweek matinee Christmas Memories. That's hugely popular. We've got Buddy. We've got the Town Band Christmas concert. We then go into Panto. The Panto is standing and looking good for this year. Ticket sales are up. And then, of course, we go into the new year, and we're really excited that over Easter, we'll have the musical 9 to 5, which is the comedy musical based on the film of 1980s, and includes the songs of Dolly Parton, 9 till 5. So it's a local society putting that on. It's really interesting because their last one, I was really concerned and saying to them, please be really careful. You know, people are out there struggling. We mustn't up the ticket price too much. We mustn't put people off. How wrong can I be? We put the ticket price up and it virtually sold out to it played to 95%. It was because it was a quality show. And very much in Sidmouth, if a show opens and the word goes out on the first night, any seats that aren't sold are then taken and sold up very quickly within the week. So again, we can be very confused or concerned about ticket price, but actually we have to move forward and we mustn't oversell it or undersell it. But the increase in ticket prices has not put people off. And I would be the first person to say, I'm really worried or concerned. Keep putting ticket prices up, that will put people off. There is a demand for theatre of all sorts. People want to get out and be entertained, whether it's a musical, whether it's a play, whether it's a comedy. And as a venue, we feel very much back on course. We've had an increase on our staff. We've got new box office opening hours, which we've listened and adapted to the public to when they want us to be open. The Spectrix box office system that we have is one of the best box office systems any venue can have. Most West End theatres have got it. We're able to do so much more than ever before. This is about the changing world. So we've got records and we can track who's been, what haven't they seen, are we missing a certain area? And the data that is there can only help this business move forward for the future. So we're very positive, we're upbeat, and we're very cheerful at the moment because we're actually looking forward to a really good season. We're actually taking bookings for 2025, and only last week someone was inquiring about what availability we have for 2026. So they're out there, people do want shows, and the bookings are looking really good. Next year, we've got a full program. We've got a mixture of amateur productions. We've got dance schools. We've got dance shows. And we hope and aim to appeal to everybody and have a good experience here at the venue. We never stand still. We have to adapt. We have to change and be able to entertain and be there for the public. And that's basically where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Graham. Incredibly positive. Marvellous. It's nice to hear. There's almost nothing negative there. That's amazing. Brilliant. So do we have any questions for Graham at all? Ian Barlow, Councillor Ian Barlow. Ian.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Graham. It's great to hear, as you said, a very positive report, and that you are thinking it's very, very, very important for the tourism business in the town as well, which again is great for the economy. And I know Councillor Hookway is in charge of this and the economy and tourism. And to me, this is a great way of bringing it all together. And thank you very much for all the hard work, and may you continue to adapt and survive.
Thank you.
Great. Absolutely. Councillor, Charlie Plowden, not councillor.
No, I'm not a councillor yet, Joe.
Councillor.
I just wanted to say a big thanks to Graham, because it was a canny move for the Manor Pavilion Theatre to open its doors post-COVID. I think we were the very first theatre to do that in the Southwest, if I'm correct. So it was a bold move, and that was, one of the sort of tactical decisions we made. And I think that gave confidence, to audiences, not just in the town, but, beyond the town. We're open for business. There is, as Graham said, a demand for live theatre, and really thrilled, because I think anybody, who is involved, and I'm not, sort of in the wider theatre world, COVID destroyed, a lot of the freelancers who are involved, the lighting, engineers, the stage set designers, etc. If you remember, there was a loss of confidence that live theatre would ever return, and a lot of questions being asked about the future viability of live theatre more than any other performance-based art. And so it's great to see theatre sort of bouncing back, and real strength as well. Again, a bit like the THG, to sort of pre-COVID sort of levels, particularly the summer season. I mean, the response was amazing, and great to see that as the last standing rep season in the UK, I believe. So we hold that, acclaim, and long may it continue. So just to sort of Graham and his team, just brilliant to hear the positivity coming through from the sort of dark days of COVID.
Thank you very much. Completely agree again. Nick Hookway.
Thank you, Joe. Yes, absolutely. Echo everything that's been said. Well done, Graham. Great job. I visited the theatre probably for the first time a couple of weeks ago when we had a meeting there. Very impressed with the place. Got a nice theatre. Really pleased to hear that audiences are coming back, and you've got a good programme. Really, really positive. All adds not only to the the cultural mix that we have in East Devon, but also is a big draw for tourists. And, well done for that. I'm interested to hear what you're saying about instant bookings and instant sellouts. That, I think, is the Glastonbury effect, isn't it? That's what everybody has to do these days. If you want to get something, you have to book instantly. But well done, and congratulations to you and your team. Great job. Keep it up. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nick. Paul Arnott. Paul.
Yes, thanks, Jen. Thanks, Graham. Huge congratulations on all of this. And as other speakers have said, if you just take this this meeting as an example, it's an extraordinary diversity and range of work that's going on. Now, some people might say that what's going on in terms of the plays that are chosen in repertory in Sidmouth represent, a slightly old-fashioned form of theatre. But there's nothing wrong with that. The reason people come, and I say this, people probably know I've worked as a theatre reviewer for the Independent Time Out for years, so I've seen everything, good, bad, and different. The reason people go back to see these plays is because they are well crafted and they are well made. My current literary agent started his career as an assistant stage manager in Sidmouth at the Manor Pavilion 40 years ago. What you'll find is if you just go on the go on some websites for leading agents, particularly on the technical side, and you'll find an awful lot of people have come through either Sidmouth or other regional theatres, which, as has been said, none of them have repertory left. It's a dying art, and I think it's crucial there. It's often the first experience, the first professional experience for younger actors coming out of drama school as well. And, and obviously you're going to get some old stagers too, aren't you? You're going to have to mix it up to have some, professionals leading the company. But the opportunity that provides is extraordinary. And I also think it acts as an inspiration to younger people living in Sidmouth. So having just poured praise all over you and all of that, I suppose the question is, can you conceive of a time when you might think, God, you know what, let's try and commission a couple of new plays a year ourselves? What do you reckon, Graham? What do you think?
Graham?
Not Graham. Oh, Graham, yes, sorry, yes.
No, absolutely. This is the most important thing about the programming. Do you know what I mean? You keep the audience that you've got, but you bring in a new audience from all areas and from different angles. So new writings and absolutely should be encouraged and should be done. Do you know what I mean? You've got to have a mixed program. You can't just sit and have the same program year after year after year. So there's no reason whatsoever we would encourage any of it. It's actually how a lot of things have happened. The variety show that I talked about, there's 3 nights that sold out, which is a local resident, a professional entertainer. He came to me many years ago with the idea. He said no other venue has shown any interest and are telling us that variety is dead. Variety isn't dead, it's how you present it. He presents it, he promotes it in an incredible, clever way. It's a very mixed audience. It's, children from 8 to the older generation. So you get parents, aunts, uncles, and grandparents. That demand is there. New writings and new plays and everything, there must be a place for them, and they should be helped and should be encouraged. And there's no reason as a venue why we wouldn't want to do that. So anybody out there, for any input, just come to us. We as a venue, we should make things happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we don't have any further questions. So I'd like to say a big thank you there to Graham. Keep up the good work. I am being visited by a dog now. Hello, Sam. You're right. You're famous now. Yeah. So now we will move to. We will hear from the final item on the agenda. We will hear from James Chubb, East Devon District Council's Countryside Team Manager, who will give a verbal update on Wild East Devon events and activities this year. So thank you, Graham, and James, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I ran through my presentation with Charlie yesterday, and he suggested that actually I really ought to present it visually as well. So whilst it was billed as a verbal update, if I may, I'll just show you some slides as well. So can everyone see the slideshow now?
Yeah, we're good.
Fantastic. Right. So last March, I reported back specifically about the Wild Honiton project, and I've got updates about that. But this time I felt it was appropriate to sort of widen the presentation and feedback to reflect the wider cultural offering that the Countryside team are engaged with currently and have been doing since March. So I will kick off with the Wild Honiton update. We had the public launch event back in May, and really pleased with the turnout. Through the course of the day, we were hosting it at Honiton Bottom. We had 250 people estimated come and visit, many staying for a good couple of hours, bringing picnics and things. Largely family audience, but with a good diversity of ages there as well. We had partner organisations with Devon Wildlife Trust. Beaver Officer was there, engaging people about the fact that Honiton has got beavers on the doorstep. I think they've actually moved out of the Gisage currently, where they were behind the beehive. They're now roaming a little bit further down in the Otter, but they've been there and no doubt they will be back. So Dan Brown from Devon Wildlife Trust was there engaging the community about the beavers. We had the Creative Cabin. Anna was there with lots of creative craft for people to engage with, and Devon Loves Dogs Julie came along and led a couple of guided walks up around Roundball Woods, and her focus is very much on good dog ownership in the countryside and how to be a responsible dog owner. So that was brilliant. Since then, we've done a further 4 public town. We've had another Naturecraft activity day in the summer holidays down in Honiton Bottom, along with bug hunting as well. My colleague Ben did a bat box building event and then came back in the evening with the same group and led them on a guided tour of the town with bat detectors. And that was really very well attended. And then most recently, last weekend on Saturday, we hosted an apple day again in our community nature reserve at Honiton Bottom, which has also got an orchard area. People brought along their own apples. We had picked a load as well and had the press there and got juicing. So whether that's all been consumed or is being laid down for cider, I can't say, but that was really a well-attended event. We had about 40 participants through the day for that one. We've created an explorer trail with carved posts with a little hedgehog carved onto the top. Each has got a QR code which gives more information about the site they're being located in, and those are due to go in the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to a bit of a publicity fanfare with those. And it's really an idea of, if you're in one green space within the town, you can scan that code, learn a little bit more about it, and also get prompted to go on and find the rest of the trail. So that's something we've been working on over the last 6 months. Countryside events more widely through the whole district. We've had 42 public events since last March, of which 702 people booked on to attend the bookable events. We also had 8 Explorer Trail events in the holiday periods, which are drop-in, so there's no need to book. So we can only estimate the numbers that attended and took part in those. But again, the idea behind those is to encourage people to explore a nature reserve for different reasons than just bird watching or naturalism. But they all come back down to the underlying principle of ecological and environmental education. We had 2 leafleted guided walks and trails rather at Easter and June half term. So had lots of people participate in those, and those are all staffed. And also I've got to mention that we've got at long last a new standalone website, which is still very much in the early days, but it now exists and we're building on it, and it will be a really important resource for publicising all of the work we do across the district on the local nature reserves and also the wider array of work that we're undertaking. Education and volunteering, we're just off the back of the really busy period for Penny, who's our environmental education ranger, and she has hosted single-handedly 1,396 school children of all ages, from primary all the way through to lifelong learning. We have University of the Third Age come along for guidance and things, but it's primarily Key Stage 2 children in the latter stages of primary school, and they get involved in all sorts of nature exploration activities, primarily at the wetlands, but also across the whole of East Devon. We've had groups out surveying plants at Knapp Copse, doing botanical surveys. We take kids out on the ex-estuary to look at the massive intertidal mudflats down there, and always a really rich source of enthusiasm. Our volunteering is getting back to where it was pre-COVID. We had 78 volunteers who actively participated in an activity since March, and that amounted to 815 shifts in various disciplines, which equated to 2,793.5 hours of volunteer commitment, which with a minimum wage contractor sort of conversion is a huge benefit in kind from people giving their time to help. The photo there is one of our volunteers, Annie, helping at the Plant and Cake Sale, which is a popular summer event that we host all the time. We've got some volunteers that meet and greet down at the wetlands and point people in the right direction for where they want to go, also serving tea and coffee, which is always very lucrative. But we've got practical conservation volunteers, scrub bashers, and that's the sort of work that's really getting up and going in the winter period now. We've really noticed a huge change in volunteering, with a lot of our stalwart volunteers not returning post-COVID. A lot of people who volunteer with us tend to be of a retired age, and I think a lot of people felt initially wary about face-to-face contact and have found other things. So we're working hard to really push new recruiting, and one of the initiatives we've got for this Saturday is some new weekend volunteering that we're doing as part of the Wild Honiton package, and we've got some volunteering happening down at Honiton Bottom this Saturday, which is really aimed at working age people and family groups, so that we can offer stuff at the weekend when otherwise people can't attend our Tuesday or Thursday sessions. So always looking to grow the family. We've got about 250 people on our books for volunteering. That was culled from 400 where we took out inactive volunteers that were sat on the system. But as you can see, it's a sort of handful of those 78 who really sort of commit regularly. So wetlands engagement specifically, we've had a real push and a refurbishing the entire on-site interpretation. It's got to an age where the maps are a bit out of date. We've got new routes. We've got a new cycleway, which is the second bullet point there, which now connects at long last Black Hole Marsh and the Seaton Wetlands Complex to the north with Seaton Marshes, Sheep's Marsh, and then the town of Seaton to the south. And that means that as soon as it's open, which is in the hands of Devon County, as soon as they're ready to sign it off as safe, that will be opened, and people for the first time will be able to walk off-road from the Longstay car park down in Seaton behind Seaton Jurassic building all the way up to the village of Colliford, through the wetlands. So really excited about how that's going to change the dynamic. We've seen a huge amount of change this summer in increased footfall with the tram halt, with lots of people alighting there and exploring the wetlands. Well, this will be another string to that bow that you can get off at the tram halt and walk all the way back down to Seaton if you fancy. So changing the dynamic, and also I'm hopeful will really inject visitor numbers down into the town rather than stopping halfway along at the cemetery and parking in the car park there. We've also since March published the Birds of the Axe Valley, which is a book that's been written by local ornithologist Mike Tyler. He's also written the Devon Bird Atlas, so he's a real font of information about Devon's birds, and that's an amazing record of all the sightings of the rarities and the unusual, but also really good data about the more common species as well. So that's something that we're selling out of the Discovery Hut at the Wetlands, and it was launched back in spring this year. And the bird there in the circular cutout picture is an Isabelline wheatear, which turned up December last year and stayed over winter into the new year as well, and was the first time we'd had that species on the site at all. That turned up at Collerford Common, and was actually the first time in Britain where one had been resident through the winter months. It should have been over sort of east of Turkey as far as the Gobi Desert, so it was well off course, but delighted birdwatchers coming to visit it at the beginning of the year, and was actually, as it turned out, the first of a number of firsts for the site. The main being this one, and this has been a real focus for me in particular, but the whole of the team, since May, when we first had news that there was mating efforts taking place on Blackhole Marsh Lagoon with this bird, which is an avocet, for anyone who doesn't recognise it. And I was away on holiday at the time for half term, and I've never got back from a holiday as quickly as when I heard that these guys were displaying all the behaviour of nesting, because as it turned out, this was the first ever successful breeding attempt of avocets in the whole of the county. Never been seen before, never been documented before, and I can't find any record of them as a previous breeding bird before their extinction in the 1870s. So I think this is a genuine first for the county. It certainly attracted a lot of attention, as it warranted, really, as a real feature for Devon. We had ITV West Country come along and do a live evening broadcast, which I took part in, and gave a little bit of background about the site. And as soon as we were allowed to go live with the news, because while they were nesting, we had to keep everything completely secret, because sadly, these birds are still targeted by egg collectors and other mindless individuals who might want to do them harm. So we kept the news under wraps as best we could, and then broke the news as soon as we saw the chicks emerge from the nest area. And immediately that following week, we saw a 40% uplift in footfall, monitored by our people counters at the entrances, so we can be very accurate about the numbers that are involved here. We also saw a 30% realisation of our entire annual donation income target for the wetlands received in the 4 weeks after that period. So it was a huge moment for the site, and for the next 8 weeks, people really enjoyed coming along and seeing the exploits of these little chicks as they grew, and finally fledged and left the site in August. And very unusually, the parent birds managed to raise all 3 of the hatched chicks to adulthood, whereas the average for the UK is only 40%. So they were incredibly good parents. And to put it into a bit of context, Dorset also had its first successful avocet breeding happened this summer in Poole Harbour, much bigger wetland complex over there. And that came on the 13th year of them attempting to breed or being present in the summer months. So for us to get 100% success the first time they've ever tried says a lot about the competence of those two birds, adult birds that bred, and their incredible diligence chasing off every single aerial predator that flew near the chicks was seen off with those sharp curvy beaks, but also the suitability of the habitat, providing enough feed and foraging for them, and also the safety of the habitat, providing a buffer for terrestrial predators, foxes and the like. Weasels couldn't get out and get to the chicks, which are hiding in plain sight. So because of this one incident, we've now already surpassed 100,000 visitors at the wetlands, and that's the first time the site has ever had that number of visitors. So it's a real step on and a feather in the cap for the team. So that is my presentation. So I'll stop sharing my screen if I can, and take any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much indeed. Really, really interesting. And good to see the wetlands doing as well as they are, which is somewhere I really must visit more often. It's been a long time since I have. Councillor Young, Jeff.
It's more praise than question. Thank you, James, for that. Just going through my notes, I love the idea of QR codes on posts on country walks. It's a really good way of getting children to take the phone, go on ahead and find out what's happening at the next post. I've seen that work in other locations, and we're doing it on the Pebble Bed Heaths, and we're doing it on the elsewhere as well. I just wonder if there's an opportunity for having a East Devon photographic competition for wildlife. We have got some fantastic photographers in the area and fantastic opportunities, and also it would help provide more photographs on the website. Brilliant news on the cycleway. Now I'd love to see a lot more of those throughout East Devon, as you know. Tramhold been a great success, and now I was wondering when you come up to the Abbotsets, and that was brilliant news. Interesting your comment about mating efforts. I've never heard it described that way before. Thank you.
It's pretty much a scientific term. I don't use it myself.
But no, fantastic news this year, and may it continue. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for keeping it clean. Well done, folks. Cheers, Jeff. Councillor Rickson, Marianne.
Well, thank you very much. This is a really great presentation. Thank you so much, James, for all the work that you've done here. I was a little bit surprised that you haven't also mentioned the ospreys at Lower Otter as another sort of potential coup in East Devon.
Yeah, I was keeping it focused really just to the cultural side of the team's work, but I couldn't help but include the Avocets as a county first. But yes, yeah, some fantastic work going on down there.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, whatever's going on, it's natural heritage and culture, and it is all part of what we are. Ian.
Thank you, Chair. Again, we were told at the beginning not to repeat, but seriously, well done. Sometimes it's deserved repeating praise. It's great. And it's also great how you're working with business. Again, the tramway, and I know with the Jurassic Centre being passed over to them, hopefully it's a great feather in Seaton's cap, feather in East Devon's cap, where it will hopefully boost tourism, which is good for everyone. And and great for culture and for the wildlife. Well done. Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant. Completely agree. And thanks, James, for waiting until the end, as is often the case with the Wild East Devon representatives. Charlie.
Yeah, very briefly, thanks, Chair. Just say thanks, huge thanks also to sort of James and his team. As captured there his presentation, fantastic work across all our reserves, the outreach work, the public events program. Again, it's just brilliant, and again, record numbers. So again, as we've sort of discussed with the theatre and the gallery, we're in a good place, which is always really encouraging to report to forum members. I'd also just pick up on Ian's point about Seaton Jurassic. We're excited to reconnect with Seaton Jurassic, with Seaton Tram when that reopens. Like I say, the tram halt's been, as James said, a real game changer, and just shows, what a difference, a kind of progressive way to providing, tourism can have, across the local economy. So looking forward to working with Seaton Tram. And finally, I think members be aware we've got an ambitious programme next year to develop our local nature recovery plan, and that will be coming to members more generally, really starting sort of next springtime with overview, and then moving on with an exciting programme of how we look to engage with communities to develop an action plan to help arrest the nature crisis, the nature emergency that we've declared, and that will be reflected very strongly in our rewrite of the council plan going forward. So lots of really exciting things for the natural environment to look forward to next year as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Charlie. We have no further comments. So at this stage, I'd like to bring the meeting to an end and thank everybody for taking part, including all of our representatives from the various organisations, and thanks to all councillors for coming. Encourage those that weren't here today to come along, because as this becomes a more sort of important committee almost, we will actually be taking decisions, and it would be good for that process to be as democratic as possible, so we have as many people here as possible. Can I remind members that until the Democratic Services team confirm that the live streaming and recording is stopped, you can still be seen and heard, and any comments may be recorded.